The old house groaned around me, a familiar symphony of settling wood and whistling drafts. I was 10 years old, and my world was confined to its creaking floors and dusty attics. My parents were always busy, their hushed arguments a constant, low hum in the background of my life. Mom was a painter, often lost in her studio for days, while Dad was a writer, his fingers perpetually dancing across his typewriter keys. I was used to the solitude, but that night, the silence felt different. It felt heavy, expectant. I was in my room, trying to assemble a ridiculously complex model airplane, when I first heard it. "Leo, honey, can you come here for a second?" It was Mom's voice, clear as a bell, drifting up from the bottom of the staircase. It was sweet, melodic, the same voice that sang me lullabies. I dropped the tiny plastic propeller. "Coming, Mom!" I yelled back, my voice echoing in the empty hallway. I bounded out of my room and peered down the shadowy stairwell. The downstairs was dark, save for a sliver of moonlight cutting through the living room window. "Mom," I called out, my voice a little smaller this time. The silence that answered was absolute. I figured she'd just gone back to her studio. She did that a lot, called for something, then got distracted by a stroke of inspiration. I shrugged and went back to my airplane. A few minutes later, it happened again. "Leo, sweetheart, I need your help with something." This time, the voice was closer, seemingly just outside my bedroom door. A chill snaked up my spine. The door was slightly ajar, and I could see the hallway was empty. The floorboards weren't creaking. There were no footsteps. It was just the voice, hanging in the air. "Mom, are you trying to scare me?" I asked, trying to sound brave. Again, only silence replied. My heart started to thump against my ribs like a trapped bird. I crept to the door and poked my head out. The long corridor stretched before me, a tunnel of deepening shadows. At the far end, the door to my parents' bedroom was closed. The house was dead quiet. I told myself I was imagining things. It was an old house, after all. Voices could travel in weird ways. I went back to my desk, but I couldn't focus. My hands were trembling. "Leah." The voice was a whisper now, right beside my ear. I jumped, spinning around so fast, I knocked my chair over. The room was empty. There was no one there. The air was cold, and the hairs on my arms stood on end. It sounded exactly like my mom, but there was an undertone to it, something hollow and wrong that I couldn't quite place. It was like listening to a recording of her voice played back on a cheap, warped cassette. Panic set in. This wasn't a game. This wasn't my imagination. I scrambled out of my room and bolted down the hall, not daring to look behind me. I had to find my real mom. I ran to her studio, a converted sunroom at the back of the house. The door was locked. "Mom!" I yelled, banging my fists on the wood. "Mom, let me in." From inside, I heard the faint sound of music and the scrape of a palette knife against canvas. Then, her real voice, muffled by the door, called out, "Leo, is everything okay?" "I'm in the middle of something, honey." Relief washed over me so intensely my knees felt weak. She was here. She was safe. "There's someone in the house," I stammered. "They sound like you." The music stopped. I heard the lock click, and the door swung open. My mom stood there, her apron splattered with vibrant blues and reds, a confused look on her face. "What are you talking about? Your father's in his office, and I've been in here for hours." Just as she said that, we both heard it. From the top of the stairs, the voice called down again, dripping with a syrupy sweetness that made my blood run cold. "Leo? Where did you go, sweetie? Don't you want to come play with me?" My mother's face went pale. Her eyes widened as she stared past me, up towards the shadowy second floor. She grabbed my arm, her grip like iron, and pulled me into the studio behind her, slamming the door shut and fumbling with the lock. We stood there, frozen in the sudden darkness of the windowless part of the room, listening. Footsteps began to descend the stairs. They were slow, deliberate, each creak of the old wood echoing the frantic beating of my own heart. They weren't my mother's light steps or my father's heavy tread. They were something else, something that was pretending. The footsteps stopped at the bottom of the stairs. A long, Drawn-out silence followed, stretching our nerves to the breaking point. Then, a soft, gentle scratching started on the studio door. Scratch, scratch, scratch. It was rhythmic, almost patient, and then the voice came again, a sibilant whisper right against the wood. "Leo, Mommy knows you're in there. Open the door." My real mom held me tighter, her body trembling, a choked sob caught in her throat. She put a finger to her lips, her eyes wide with a terror I had never seen before. We didn't make a sound. We just listened to the scratching and the sweet, terrible voice that called my name, waiting for a dawn that felt like it would never come. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like and subscribe for more.